Sulaiman, Saudara Asmana, Saudara Syarul Hamid, Saudara Azman dan tuan-tuan yang terutama, rakan-rakan yang saya muliakan, saya mulakan dengan menyampaikan sedikit penghargaan, terima kasih kepada Ketua Kuasa Penganjur dan penaung yang telah memberi galakan untuk menganjurkan program yang bermakna di peringkat antarabangsa. Your Highness, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, give me profound pleasure to be associated with this meaningful event, and let me share with you some of my observations about leadership as a person not yet a leader but learning in the process. Now, we are living, as political scientists have alluded to, post-normal times. Unprecedented, spontaneous, problems involving political turmoil, environmental degradation, civil strife, and also massive movements of people and refugees through migration, partly because of civil wars, and also due to environmental impact. Ban Ki-moon once said that this is a period of spontaneity because everything happens at almost the same time and spontaneous. You don't only solve a climate problem or political problem, economic issues, including the unprecedented trade war between China and United States of America, but you're dealing with numerous political, economic, social, climate change and problems all at the same time. And though this relates to the issue of leadership, of course, it begins with the new profound change in digital technology. What is being in the field, new creation and innovation is startling, from normal computers, laptops, to artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, big data. And to be able to comprehend this is a requirement for all leaders in all fields, be it corporate leadership, business, education, or in politics. So the understanding of the problems is a prerequisite. Herman Khan once said that the problem that he anticipated, writing in the early 80s or the late 70s, is the growing number of leaders, uncharismatic, low moral profession. Neither the appeal nor the commitment to substantive issues of good governance and capacity to undertake reform measures. Leadership in the Arabic proverb is referred to taklifun wala tashrif. It is a responsibility and not a privilege. Now, contrary to normal assertions, people crave for leadership in the corporate world and more so in the political world for the privileges and not for the responsibility. So we have a major problem now of leaders devoid of ethical and moral considerations. And precisely because of that, you see a failure of governance. A failure of governance would mean a country with huge potential to grow can degenerate into despair due to endemic corruption, abuse of power, and clear irresponsibility in terms of having clear policies to uplift the economic, socio-economic, and cultural empowerment of its people. That's why I think deliberations such as this, a reasoned discourse, a meaningful one, is pertinent, because leadership is can no longer be grasped and understood in traditional sense. The problems are no longer peculiar to a particular country. It is immense, it is huge in terms of its dimension. And therefore, the discourse needs to be more elaborate and sophisticated. Of course, Shagul Hamid mentioned to me that we deal more on the leadership of the corporate world, and partly because he wants to avoid the sensitivity. As I said this morning in one of the forums, because our societies, particularly developing countries, lack that creative consciousness, the liberty and freedom to articulate freely. I say to the contrary, Malaysia have always had that freedom. They are startled. Why do you suggest that we had the freedom when the leadership was autocratic or semi-authoritarian? I said, yes, you have all the freedom to say, articulate whatever you believe in, freedom of speech, but not necessarily freedom after speech. So now that we have freedom of speech, leaders have to grapple with new problems of fake news, of responsibility, of countries like Malaysia, multicultural, multi-religious, multiracial, having to deal with the rise of religious bigotry or racism. Not necessarily in Malaysia alone. In Europe, not since the Second World War, have you seen growing racism, which potentially is a problem for humanity at large. It is therefore pertinent that we return to the core principles and values. Leadership is about responsibility, taklif. Leadership is about knowledge and understanding. Leadership is about compassion and justice. But ultimately, leadership is about undertaking responsibility to human beings at large. You lead a corporate world, and you cater for the interests of every single member who contribute to the entity. From the cleaners to the technocrats, to the analysts, and of course, to the managers. No corporation can succeed if you discard any particular sector. So a leader that's responsible must concern himself or herself with every single member who have contributed to the building of this corporation, which is not necessarily the rule. That is why you see such disparity between the privileges obtained by the top few as compared to the ordinary workers. You transpose this into a government, the same principle applies. No government can propel its economy purely by business community or political leadership or technocrats, because it involves every member, every citizen, due to their diligence and hard work, their intelligence, their discipline, all levels of society. And leaders must concern themselves with the general welfare of every member, every citizen in the society. I think I have a great passion on this because not only because what I went through in the process of this struggle, back and forth, giving extended leave of absence. It sounds nice, but actually it's a prison sentence. But I always look at it in a positive light. I would have never imagined I could read so much of classics and new literature, economics, politics, religion, had I not been given that rare opportunity of forced rest in Sungai Buloh from time to time. So we leaders have to remain optimistic. Leaders must be able to forgive and move on with their lives and the life of their brethren. Because if you are too preoccupied thinking and reflecting your own personal problems, you can never think in the interest of the corporation, and you can never think and work in the interest of the nation. I have opted for the interest of the nation and leave my personal predicament, however difficult it was, aside. I think my love for the country of this nation, Malaysia, supersede and transcend the predicament or the tribulations that I have to endure. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for this opportunity. I commend Shahul and his team, Azman, and the patron for this great event. 11th year, understood? Yes. And you have in Malaysia this growing tradition of organizers, event managers that I am proud to be associated with because of their expertise and their meticulous, their penchant for meticulous details ensuring the success of the program. Again, terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum.